Welcome everybody to ATI Talks, a concept in which we interview an expert in the field on a topic related to advanced technologies. And today's topic is cloud. To give a short introduction on the ATI project, ATI stands for Advanced Technologies for Industry. It is a project commissioned by the European Commission, and in particular, the European Innovation Council and SME Executive Agency, ISMEA, and DG GROW. It contributes and aims to contribute to the EU's industrial policy approach and to promote the creation of a competitive European industry. In this talk, as I mentioned, we will explore the potential of cloud platforms for European industry, for small, medium-sized enterprises. As a short introduction, cloud services have become the de facto source of digital transformation for enterprises in every industry and the preferred IT consumption model for consumers. Until now, European cloud and IT service providers have been operating in the shadow of global cloud players, but new opportunities are emerging for them as the market evolves. And we want to learn more about that, and we will do so today with Mark Dietrich, who is a senior advisor at the EGI Foundation and the H-CLOUD project. Mark, welcome. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Niels. Thank you for inviting me.
A pleasure to have you. Maybe a short introduction on yourself and the organizations you work for.
So as you noted, I'm senior advisor at EGI Foundation, which is based in Amsterdam. My role there is to provide expertise in a wide variety of areas. EGI, as you may know, is the center of a thing called the EGI Federation, which operates across Europe and provides computing services, data services to the research community, some 70,000 users around Europe as well as around the world. And to some extent, the EGI Federation is one of the first cloud federations in the world. So it's quite an advanced capability serving advanced research. My focus has a number of areas, including international relationships and technology forecasting. And I've been involved in the Horizon Cloud project, for which EGI Foundation is a participant in that project. And we are specifically responsible for leading H-CLOUD's work in creating a strategic roadmap for the European cloud community, the European cloud computing community. So in this respect, we're looking at the demand challenges, and we're also looking at the supply challenges within the European cloud business and trying to come up with strategic recommendations for the Commission, not only for their own policies, but also to encourage specific activities on the part of players here in Europe.
Great, thanks. And we'll get to the recommendations for sure towards the end of the conversation. Let us start with, let's say, setting the scene. So in your view, what is the big opportunity of cloud and cloud platforms for European industry?
Well, a lot of the focus on cloud computing is really a focus on digital transformation. And cloud is an enabler. It's a first step, and it's a necessary step for digital transformation. And digital transformation for companies, regardless of the business that they are in, is going to be a huge source of change, a huge paradigm for changing not only the way they operate, but the kinds of business they operate in. So the cloud does enable this. And many companies talk about having a cloud-first strategy and a cloud-first IT strategy, which can be valuable. But to us in H-CLOUD, our focus is really on digital transformation first. And you need cloud to achieve that, but you also have to be open to the changes of your business model, the change of your business plan, the relationship with your customers, and all of this can be changed because you use the cloud, but you have to be open to the fundamental changes in your business that are possible. So those are huge. They're hard. Adopting the cloud and going through digital transformation in and of itself is not easy. So you have to have management commitment, and you have to have the right focus in the heads of the people who are leading the organization. It's not simply a new jacket you put on and now I'm cloud enabled, yay rah. Really you're just the same guy in a flashier suit. So we need to focus on the change in your heart that's necessary.
So it's a strategic choice for a company to say, okay, this is what will bring us, let's say, a profitable future, a growth path for the company. That's where it starts, and then towards, let's say, regarding implementation of making choices of which provider to use and so on. I can imagine also there are some challenges in that process, and to help. Can you tell us more about those challenges and
yeah, I think the problem today in the cloud market is buyers, companies, organizations, the people who want to use the cloud. They go to the cloud store and they're given a bag of Lego pieces and say, okay, fine. What is it you want to do? You want to build a factory automation system. You want to do customer relationship system. You want to, I don't know what it is. Here's all the Lego you need, not in their instructions. And they are, of course, in international language. You know, there are no words. So you're required to put the pieces together all by yourself. Or maybe you can hire somebody to help you build your Lego Death Star or Battlestar Galactica. But fundamentally, you're on your own. And that's the challenge. We need to move the cloud providers to think more about creating value for their customers. And many are doing this. SAP, for example, has been transforming its business in the way it relates to individual organizations, really focusing on the value they create for the business. This is the digital transformation story, as opposed to saying, okay, we have infrastructure as a service, we have platforms as a service, we have software as a service. What color Lego would you like? And they're transforming their approach to business to focus on value. This is hard. Software companies are, they like to sell their software. They like to let the customer do what they have to do. But in fact, the cloud changes not only the customer, but also the provider. And this is the transformation that both sides are going through.
Yeah. And well, you mentioned Lego. One of the things that I can imagine is also related to making choices is that if you're not a company that is really, let's say, grounded in technology, so you're and maybe an SME, but not so much in industry, in technology industry oriented. I can imagine it is difficult to make a choice. It might also be that you're becoming quite dependent on a certain provider, and at I think the current market has quite some large multinational companies in that space. Is that a risk? How do you see that?
Well, it's certainly a concern. Does it create a true risk? That's hard to say in the long run. But there are certainly two issues that you've raised there, which are important. Well, three issues. One is the concern about vendor lock-in. And it's very clear, let's say, they're actually competitors to Lego. So we probably need to make a little statement to reference the trademark of Lego at some point. But there are other competitors that actually sell little blocks with things that stick up that connect to one another. So they are an entirely different ecosystem of capabilities, but they still have blocks. So the same goes on if you are working on Amazon Web Services and you say, well, I want to move my software stack from Amazon and I want to move to, I don't know, OVH or T-Systems. Well, there could be some changes because there are clearly some proprietary pieces that Amazon has put together for the benefit of its customers, but it's not locked in like a contract. But you already built your Death Star, and you don't want to break it down to the Lego pieces again and do it again using a different set of blocks. So that's what the vendor lock-in part is. The other piece of it is portability. So if maybe I have some piece that I built myself, and I want to take off the top, and I want to put it onto something else. That's also hard to do. It's very hard to unhook one piece of my model and to connect it to a new underpinning piece. So both of these things are working to make it hard. It makes choices more, I wouldn't say risky, but you are locked in. You have to make choices that will last you a long time. Having said that, I do think that companies need to understand that stuff is changing every year. And you do not make a cloud choice for a 10-year time period. You make a cloud choice for maybe 2 or 3 years. So in my opinion, to some extent, the concern about lock-in is valid, but at the same time, get going, make a decision. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe you'll change your mind in 2 years, but you will succeed by making a decision and having a new solution for 2 or 3 years. Whereas, why wait for 3 years while you find the perfect solution? So don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Don't let portability be the enemy of your moving forward with your digital transformation.
Yeah, great. And maybe if I may ask, and we didn't rehearse these questions, but I'm just interested in your view. You have been working on the European Commission project. You're also from Canada, so from another continent. Do you see differences between these regions and how they cope with cloud strategy at the more continental level, so to say?
Yeah, I would say, so let's take a US perspective. In the United States, the big hyperscalers, they're American companies. So nobody's laying awake at night about, oh, I've given all my data to Amazon, or I've given all my data to Microsoft. For this, they don't even think about it. But they are thinking about vendor lock-in. They're thinking about portability. Those same issues are there, but they're not as worried about it. They don't see it as oh, I don't know, we're sending our data across the ocean. So there's less hesitancy on the part of American companies to work with these major US hyperscalers, for sure. So we're looking at the Canadian perspective, we always are of two minds. Well, the people down south they're just next door. We can fly down there and, at least in non-COVID times, and have a conversation and work things out. They also have the same worries inside their heart of, gee, we're giving all our data to the United States, and maybe we should keep it in Canada or something. So there are those issues as well. But Canadians are always of two minds about everything. So it's kind of a way of living. So I think the concerns are a little less pointed, a little less focused here in North America than they are in Europe. I think that concern is a reasonable focus, but I also don't think it's something that should be holding people back. They shouldn't be not doing things because they're worried that they might make the wrong choice. So, and this is an American. So we make a few mistakes. We change it. We fix it. What's your problem?
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks for that insight. Mark, in general, we talked a little bit about the opportunities, the challenges here for industry to adopt these cloud services. In general, what would be your recommendations for policymakers, for industry, to further support this adoption of this technology?
For policymakers, I think they are thinking about the right things. They are trying to encourage, for example, not necessarily more favorable contracts, but contracts, standard contracts by cloud service providers that give even small companies a little more comfort that they're not getting locked into some kind of crazy relationship that they will regret in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that's an important direction. There's an important focus by the Commission on making sure that cloud providers and the various people who are involved in the business are providing an environment that is safe for data, that is safe for privacy, that is environmentally friendly. So they're putting an appropriate focus on those areas. Now, how that's all going to get translated into practical policies, certifications, standards, et cetera, it still needs to be worked out, but it is the right focus. The Commission is also working on initiatives to help improve the visibility of some of the European players in this market, because I would say that, when you're dealing with 800-pound or 400-kilo gorillas, it's easy to be kind of overwhelmed by them in the market, and for them to take a dominant place in the headspace of the buyer. They're doing a lot more in terms of communication. They're doing a lot more in terms of outreach and training. And these are places where the local European players are they're not quite there yet. So that is a challenge, but they need to step up their game.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's a good recommendation. In general, for this interview, we kind of get to the conclusion. Is there any final view you would like to share or comment you would like to make on this particular topic?
Well, one thing that I think might be, it's kind of an opportunity and a challenge. And you had originally mentioned to me small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. I think one interesting difference between the North American market and the European market for SMEs is what's going on in the States is you see a lot of vertical cloud-based solutions popping up. So there's an app for your phone and in the cloud for home renovation. There's an app for installing solar panels. There's an app for, doing bookkeeping. There's something for everything. There's always something available for every little vertical industry. So SMEs have many choices to take advantage of cloud-based capabilities in their business in the United States. It's much more difficult in the EU because we have 28, 27 countries, depending on what day it is. And you have many different languages, many different accounting regulations, many different local member state regulations. So all of these complexities mean that it's hard for a vertical player to build up critical mass, but it's still an opportunity. You've got to understand there are hundreds of thousands of dry cleaning, clothes cleaning companies. They could all benefit from an app to help them manage their business, maybe. But how does the Commission enable this, and how do software developers put something together to support that? And then how do the SMEs adopt that? Are they looking for the big solution? No, maybe they just need a solution that's on the phone, and they just move forward. They try to make it work. So I think a general willingness to experiment with new solutions, even by small organizations and even by small software providers, I think will be essential for real cloud adoption across Europe, even for SMEs. And this will have a big impact because the 99% of companies in Europe are SMEs. And so if they have the kind of digital transformation that the big companies are getting, they could have a huge impact on the European economy.
Great. Thanks, Mark. So we'll close with that call to action for both the SMEs to start using it, as well as I read in your words also a call to action for, let's say, the policymakers in Europe to make a more uniform context in Europe where we reduce those barriers, which is, I believe, certainly under their attention at the moment. Thank you very much for this talk, Mark. And I'd like to thank everyone for viewing, and until a next ATI Talk. Thank you.